frequently asked questions for the next 20 minutes. The first question, basically, what comes from the insurance investor is, what should I look before I decide to buy a policy? So if you are a new investor in the insurance, what you should look? So basically, when you are buying a policy, the first thing you have to look into is whether or not there is availability of guarantee of return. Means there are few policies which tell you that whatever might happen, this is the guaranteed amount you will receive. So that you have to check. Okay, few policies have that, few policies do not have that. Then what is the lock-in period? Okay, what do you mean by the term lock-in period? This is very important. Lock-in period means when you invest your premium in the insurance company, you have the what they say, liberty to I told you, you can take loan or you can withdraw from the policy. Maybe first year you pay, second year you pay, third year you are not able to pay, then you want to come out of that policy. So whether that is possible or not. Now basically, if you take any type of traditional products like endowment plan or money back plan, etc., 3 years is the lock-in period. That means first 3 years you have to pay the policies. You cannot withdraw, or neither you can take loan amount from that. So in the first 3 periods, if you don't pay, means first year you paid, second you paid, third year if you don't pay, then your policy lapses, no benefit for you. So that lock-in period you have to check. So if you are taking a unit-linked insurance plan, which is connected with the share market, 5 years is the lock-in period. You cannot touch anything from that. Okay, so this lock-in period is very, very important. You have to look into. Then details of premium to be paid. So how much premiums you have to pay if you are taking a sum assured of 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, or how much premium it comes. That you have to keep in mind. And please remember, whatever you pay the premium in the first year, the same premium is continued for the next 10 years or 20 years or 15 years. There is no increase or decrease in the premiums. Okay, so you have to determine the premium. And as I told you, if your age is young, your premium, and if your age is young, your sum assured will be more and your premiums will come less. If your age is more, that means if you take insurance at the older age, then your sum assured will come lesser and your premium will increase. So you have to start when you are young. Okay, then what would be implication of premium default? So if you don't pay the premium, then whether any benefit is given to you or the policy lapses, that also you have to look into. Then what the revival conditions are. That means if the policy lapses, whether you have option to renew your policy, because some policies do not have that option. Then what are the charges that would be deducted? There are many charges. Okay, please keep in mind that first year, second year, third year, there are certain charges which are deducted from your premium. The entire premium is not invested. For example, in the first year, if you pay 10,000 at the premium, maybe 2,000 goes as the administration charges, 1,000 goes as the, some other expenses, maybe another 500 goes to some other expenses. They might invest only 7,500 of your premium into your risk account. Second year, that comes lesser. Third year, that comes lesser. Fourth year onwards, your entire premium is invested. So this is how it takes place. So you have to see what are the deductibles. And lastly, would loan be available? So if you take term plan, no loan available. Okay, it's a pure term plan. If you take endowment plan, few plans have loan facility, few plans do not have loan facility. So if you want that loan facility, then you have to look into. So basically, this is what you have to look into a policy when you buy. Second one, please. Yeah, what is the importance of proposal and disclosures made therein? Very, very important. So when you go to buy a life insurance policy, they will give you a proposal form. Okay, proposal form is something like when you entered into some university, etc., you fill the admission form, right? Similarly, they give you a proposal form. So in that proposal form, you have to mention each and everything, all the facts correctly and rightly. Okay, so for example, there is one clause in the life insurance policy saying that how much do you drink? Do you drink? If you say yes, if you tick mark yes, then the second column says how many bottles beer, how many bottles, then in a week, then In case hard liquor, how much ml, like that. Cigarettes, how many packets, like that. Now, if you write no, what will happen? My question to you. You drink, but you say no, I don't drink. What will happen?
Tomorrow when I die because of some alcohol related things, right? Some kidney failure or whatever, I'm not going to get the sum assured.
You're not going to get the sum assured.
Or my family,
okay.
Matter.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, because you have not mentioned the fact. Okay, I will give you one more scenario. Okay. Suppose I took the life insurance policy today, and today friendship day. Okay, I took a life insurance policy today, and I met with the girl and I fell in love with her, and maybe after 2 or 3 years there is a breakdown between me and my girlfriend, and then I start drinking and I die because of that. Will the company give me the sum assured?
Trick question.
Anjali wants to tell something.
Sorry. I mean, that is very subjective, no? When you can start drinking, I think they will still give. I'm not sure.
They'll give.
I think they won't give because there would be some clause amongst the 25-page document we signed, right? Insurances have always been that crazy.
Okay. Let me tell you. One thing is that is what importance of proposal form. That is, whenever you're filling the proposal form, you have to write everything correctly and properly as per your understanding. So if you do not mention the things properly there, or if you give wrong information, tomorrow, in case something happens, the company can deny from the claim. So this is called as Section 45 of Insurance Act, in contestability clause. That is from the first 2 years or first 3 years of taking the policy. If for something, if the company has every right to check into what you have written in the policy, etc., and then later on they can cancel your policy on any of the grounds, maybe non-disclosure or something. But after 3 years, company cannot cancel policy like that. It is the onus of the company to prove that some fraud existed from the customer side, and then only they can cancel the policy. And one thing, whatever happens while filling the proposal form, that has to be mentioned, and whatever happens later, that need not be mentioned. For Anjali rightly pointed out that, okay, if I start drinking after taking the policy, the company, I'm not saying will give the amount. The company has a discretion after looking into the case whether to give the amount or not. That is why the insurance company always says that whatever care you used to take before taking the policy, the same amount of care and caution you should take after taking the policy also. So negligence will not be counted. For example, if I drink and drive and meet with an accident, so whether the company will pay the amount depends upon the company's discretion, but usually the company won't, because it is a pure negligence. Yes, Anjali, anything?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Even in like cases of suicide, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think companies pay, or because
yeah. This point, very nice point she raised. What happens in case of suicide? Till the last 10 years, till 10 years back, there was a clause that if a person commits suicide at any point of time, then no amount shall be payable to the family. Okay, whatever premiums he might have paid. Suppose he might have paid around 6 to 7 premiums. Maybe he might have taken a risk coverage term of 10 years, and he might have paid 8 premiums, and then he might have committed suicide. So whether the company has to give or not, company was not issuing. But later on, the courts intervened, and the courts were of the opinion that it is the customer's hard-earned money, then you have to pay. Then the insurance company made some changes saying that, okay, in case if the person commits suicide within 365 days of taking the policy, that is technically within a year, then the company is not liable to pay anything. But later on, after 365 days, if he commits suicide, then a percentage of premium might be given to the policyholder's family.
Percentage of the premium and not sum assured?
No sum assured premium.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Santosh, Nitin here again.
Yeah.
interesting point, right? Because when I got my term policy last year, and this was the only point which the guy who sold me the policy emphasized on. He's like, in 365 days, if you commit suicide, there's zero amount. But after that, he actually said, I mean, now I'm thinking twice. He said, you will get the sum assured.
No. Sum assured, they don't give because what happens is, there are a lot of cases which have happened where, the person who is into debt has taken huge amount of sum assured. They have paid 2-3 premiums and then they have committed suicide.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is called something called a moral hazard, and I can give one more case. This happened in Haryana where, one guy, father, he took insurance on a girl child. Okay. He had first 2 kids who were male, but he purposely took insurance on the 3rd child. And later on, when he went to buy the insurance policy for this girl child, the insurance company denied. They said, we cannot give. The basis of denial was the underwriting team. They found out that the first 2 kids did not have insurance. And you can understand what might be the moral hazard here. Moral hazard was simple, that after 2-3 payments of the policy, kill that girl and use that amount to pay for the males. Okay. So underwriting departments does a lot of moral hazard check, that is financial hazards, moral hazards, then physical hazards, everything. So that is why in the proposal form, each and everything has to be written clearly, because in the proposal form, even one clause there saying that whether your family members have insurance, if so, from which insurance company and how much amount. That also has to be specified very clearly. Also, it asks about your health, it asks about your habits, it will ask about your profession, it will ask about your everything. Now, depending upon that, the underwriter will decide how much premium, whether that sum assured, whatever you are taken, is relevant and how much premium has to be charged.
Yeah.
And in case if there is any miscommunication over there, then the claim might not be paid to you.
Okay.
Can we move on next?
One more question.
Yes.
You said, right, like that person, suppose he insured only for the kid. Sorry. Yeah. So I have a question, like, is there a way where we can figure out, because we can buy insurance from different companies, right? I can have, maybe I have insured, like that guy has insured his 2 kids in some other company. And maybe for the girl he is insured. Like, how is there a central way to know what all insurance?
There is no central way to understand how many companies they have insured into, but that's why in the proposal form they have to mention it clearly and properly. Now, if he has not mentioned there, then if the company has rejected, then they will tell them why it has rejected. Then if he has the policy, he has to mention there.
Okay.
You're getting the point.
Yeah.
There is nothing like, okay, it's not like your tax portal or something like that where we can get all the details, because company wise I can get. If in my company, if I'm having 2-3 policies, I can understand, but interconnection of the companies is not there.
But do you foresee this happening similar to how, say, equities are now centralized, right, through our PAN number? We know how much.
IRDA is taking a lot of initiatives right now, and they are revamping a lot of things. I think in coming days we can see this also.
We can, right?
Yeah, because there's a lot of possibility of fraud happening, right? Because
that is why there is the underwriting department. And underwriting department has its own ways of doing the checks, like the proposal. See, you give the proposal form, you mention everything. Apart from that, you give your PAN card, you give your bank details, and everything is linked. Right now, your PAN card and all is linked. So chances of creating fraud is very, very less. I can tell you a couple of years back, that people used to do money laundering with these insurance companies. I'll tell you how. Should I tell, sir? His time is there. I can tell. Nitin?
I have, maybe another 10 minutes if we can round it off, like everything 10-15 minutes at the max.
I think 10-15 minutes. I think this one small case, I'll tell you how they used to do that. Initially, they used to dump, they used to take insurance policy, for 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs rupees premium they used to take. And they used to pay first premium, second premium, and then later on cash they used to pay at the counter. I'm telling you, cash. Then later on, what they used to do is they used to cancel the policy. after paying the first premium, they used to cancel the policy. When they used to cancel the policy, what used to happen is whatever amount refund happens, that used to happen through insurance company's account, right? And they used to show it as the white money. So after looking into all these things, now the IRD has said that only 50,000 is the limit by paying in way of cash. Above that, everything you have to do from bank transaction.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can move on to the next one. I think there are a couple of slides, and then we can wind up. Yeah. Next slide, ma'am. Yeah. So what are the special medical reports required to be submitted in life insurance? Yes, if you're having any medical history, then you have to give the medical reports as suggested. And if you're overweight or underweight, then the company itself will suggest you to go for medicals and certain things that can be given. Yes. Next. What is the settlement options? Sorry, I think in case of maturity claim, yeah. So suppose if a person survives to the maturity period, then what all documents he has to give? Usually the company will intimate him 2 to 3 months in advance, saying that your insurance policy is maturing. So he has to get his policy bond. Then he has to prove that today proof is not required because everything is there online. He has to bring his policy bond, and he should make sure that he has paid all the premiums, and then it should be duly signed, and then the entire maturity claim will be given to the person to whom who has taken the policy. In case if there are any nominees or any assignees, then the amount will go to the nominees. Okay. Nominees, I would like to tell one thing. Nominees, you can appoint anyone as your nominee. But again, these underwriters will look into because looking at moral hazards, they will not allow certain people to appoint as a nominee. For example, you cannot appoint your friend as your nominee, or you cannot appoint some stranger as your nominee, something like that. So basically, they look into the legal heirs and families just to avoid this moral hazard. But the clause is that you can appoint anyone as a nominee, provided if you have justification for that. Okay, moving on next. What is meant by settlement option? Yes, most of them have that preconceived notion that maturity benefit is given in lump sum only. Nothing like that. You can take it in installments also. You can give a standing instructions to the insurance company. You can take it in lump sum, or you can take it in installments also, depending upon how we would like to take. So the terms and conditions are specified in advance at the inception of the contract. So while signing the insurance contract, that time only you specify as to how you are supposed to get the insurance, this maturity benefit claim. Okay. Next one. So what documents are generally required submitted in case of death? Yeah, in case of death, automatically what happens is someone should inform the insurance company about the death of the person. Then the death certificate is very, very important. That has to be given. Then a policy bond has to be submitted. Then also, if he was hospitalized something, then hospital details has to be given. Then if he's working in any company, then employer certificate is important. If it is unnatural death or something, then the police inquest report, postmortem report, etc. has to be given. Now, suppose here one more interesting thing I would like to say. For example, if a person is not to be seen or heard for the past 7 years, okay, for the past 7 years, neither he is heard, neither he is seen, etc. Something like that has happened. So in that case, what has to be done? In that case, the nominees can go to the court of law and they can get a certificate saying a death certificate from the court saying that this person is no more living. Then on that basis, they can take the claim amount. But please remember that person shouldn't have been seen, shouldn't have been heard for the last 7 years. So this is one thing what they can do. Next. What should one verify while signing the proposal? Okay, this is very important. While signing the proposal, you should see what are the charges applicable. Then whether when you can surrender your policy. Surrender your policy means suppose if you don't want to continue with the policy, you can surrender back it to the company, and they will pay whatever premiums you have paid. A percentage of that they will pay you back. So not the sum assured, please again. So surrender again is a loss, but something you will get of whatever you have paid. Then you have to see what are the benefits available, what are the limitations and exclusions. Again, exclusions here means suicide is excluded. Then if a person dies in by murder, etc., that is excluded. Then if a person dies due to negligence, that is excluded. So there are a lot of exclusion clause which you have to look into very clearly, and then you have to take the policy. Then when will the policy lapse? What is the consequences that you have to look into? Then yes, what? Yeah, you can move on. You can move on. Ma'am, next slide, please. Yeah. What happens if payment of premium is discontinued? Very, very important. If you do not pay the premium, then your policy will lapse. Simple as that. And if something happens after lapsation of the policy, that means death or something, company is not liable to pay the amount, whatever time it is. So what happens if you don't pay the premium? For example, today is August 1st, and today was my premium paying date. If I have not paid today, don't worry, your policy will not lapse today itself. You will have 1 month time to pay the policy premium. That is the grace period, what you call. So if you pay within that grace period, then still your policy is in force. But even after the grace period, if you don't pay, then your policy will lapse. But still there is one provision. Within next 6 months, again, you have time to revive your policy. You can give the outstanding premium with the outstanding amount, etc. You have to give your medical reports, and then you can renew the policy once again if you want, or else the policy will lapse. Next one. Yeah, the last slide of the day, FAQs, if you have any grievance. Yes, insurance, again, it's a service. And if there is any problem with the service, so you can go to the IRDA. That is, the IRDA has maintained a system called as Integrated Grievance Management System. You can log on and you can see. You can type the policy details, you can type your grievance, and then IRDA will take a call. But usually what we suggest is that first you have to go to the insurance company and first talk with the branch manager, etc., and then decide. Tell them what is your problem. In case if they don't take up, then you can go for IGMS. There is one more route you can go. You can go to the consumer court also, because this is a service provided, and consumer court also can take up. But please remember that you can approach any one of this. You can go IGMS, or you can go to the consumer court, or you can go to the civil court. Any one you can opt for. Yeah. So this is what you can do. For more details, you can go to this www.igms.in.